Hello, and welcome to this Larry Bird edition of Great Quarter Guys, episode 33. I am Andrew Cox. This is my boss and my friend, my man, Kevin Hill. How are we, Kevin?
We're doing great today. Why is it Larry Bird? Was
number
that
33?
His number?
Yeah, he won number 33.
That was Larry Bird's number.
That's right. Or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He also won number 33. Got a bunch of famous old number 33s back in the day, back in those 70s and 80s days. Not too many people wear it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a baseball player that wears 33, and I can't.
Yeah,
I can't remember of any famous ones.
It's funny how just like I think it not only it's certain players, but it's certain numbers that stick out in your mind for me. Like of course, when you think of 24, I think of Kobe, but I also think of 8, I think of Kobe. But 23, you got Jordan, of course. Gretzky's 87. So you get these certain numbers that stick out, and I guess they do have to do with the player. But I don't know.
Mickey Mantle was 7.
7, of course, Mantle. Yeah, some good ones.
Johnny Bench was 5, along with George Brett.
Johnny Bench. That's the number you pick out for 5? You remember Johnny Bench? Someone?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the 80s. I grew up when we only had three choices to choose from on TV, and the baseball bunch with the San Diego Chicken and Johnny Bench came on every Saturday morning.
San Diego Chicken. I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's still one of my dad's favorite shows.
You're way before my time on that one.
And ESPN did a great documentary not too long ago on Johnny Bench and kind of his life now and kind of he's probably the greatest catcher of all time. So not to get into a Johnny Bench and Cincinnati Reds tangent, but here I am in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to Johnny Bench at some point. All right, so let's hop into that Bank of America, that consumer spending data we've been talking about for the last few weeks, and we can kind of tie it into the Commerce Department's retail data that they brought out. I think it was this morning, actually. So Kevin and I made a bet last week that we would see total card spending positive year over year at some point in June.
At least one day.
I almost got it on the very first day of June. June 1st, we were only down 1%, which is close. It did trail off a little bit after that. It probably averages about 4 or 5% down total card spending year over year for the final week that we have the data. Let's look at retail. Retail excluding autos is back in positive territory. That's a good sign. It had kind of slumped down a little bit in the last week of May. Again, continue to smash is online electronics, total online retail, furniture spending, and home improvement. Those are all smashing numbers. And then let's talk a little bit about that retail data that came out from the Commerce Department. It roared back in May, up 17.7% sequentially from April to May. But again, that's being after down almost 15% in May and 8% in March. Or I'm sorry, 8% in April.
So it came back to just about even.
Right, just about
after
even.
April.
But they did give the year-over-year number at 6% down year-over-year for May, which is not terrible, honestly. Like for to be in this sort of recession and to be in this sort of 13% unemployment, 40 million Americans initial jobless claims, I don't think that's that bad.
I don't think it's that bad either. It could be a whole lot worse. And looking at the Bank of America data, it kind of lines up a little bit with that as well, right? You have a lot of, you're trending, June 1st, negative 1% down on total credit card or total card spending, which includes credit card and debit card. And as of 6/6, which is the last day on the chart here, is negative 10%. I think the new numbers come out tomorrow or Thursday, right?
We'll
Thursday, that's right, Thursday mornings.
On that Commerce Department number, though, auto sales jumped 44%. This is, again, after the worst month ever in April. So, it's to be expected, but 44% is massive. So if the sales excluding auto was up 12% in May. So, I mean, autos make up about a fifth of total retail spending in the U.S.?
It does, and basically about 2 hours ago, we were on the midday market update that we do, doing headlines from FreightWaves.com, and we had breaking news this morning where Volvo had trimmed down about 1,000 white-collar workers.
4,100.
4,100 white-collar workers, and that's after a lot of layoffs and furloughs.
Yeah, you've seen it across the board. Renault and Continental have also laid off thousands of workers. Renault laid off 15,000 workers last month. So the auto industry is definitely, they're slimming down. I think they're going to be looking at a slimmer future.
I think your yearly or annual auto sales are probably close to a peak in the U.S. I think they've reached that saturation level You had a huge population segment, the baby boomers, who are, getting to the age where they can't really drive or shouldn't drive a lot,
let's say that.
or they passed away. And then the new trends from the younger generations.
Waiting a lot longer to get their license, and they're waiting a lot longer to start families, so they're only buying one car, and it's typically, that's why that crossover SUV has become by far the most dominant car in the market, because people like me are waiting longer to have kids, and when they do have kids, they only have one or two. They have no need for this minivan anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 6 months leading up to my 16th birthday, all I could think was,
me too.
I am going to drive. And that morning I turned 16. It was probably the only morning in my teenage years where I woke up before 6 a.m.
Yeah, right.
Because I was raring to go. But there's a lot of kids out there today that have no interest in getting the license the day they turn 16.
Yeah, and I mean, that is crazy to me. I mean, I guess it's just situational. I lived 45 minutes away from school, so it was like I was very much looking forward to not riding with my mom every day. It was I wanted to get in the car, but I guess nowadays, kids are carpooling or they're taking Ubers, or I don't know. I don't know what the reason is kids are waiting longer, but it's like a significant percentage. It's like only 50% of their kids get it within 6 months of their 16th birthday now. It's like which is so much different than what it was a few years ago. But let's get to our show today. We've got a couple discussions. The first one is just a quick discussion, really, on the rise of alternative data. This comes on the heels of us doing a paper in partnership with Transplace on Black Swan events and on COVID-19, and kind of how a lot of companies are looking for alternative sources of data to get ahead of the curve. And also, this also comes on the back of this funny tweet and story I saw yesterday from a Jefferies analyst who has been flying back and forth between Beijing and Shanghai almost solo. I mean, he's doing this, I think, a couple times a week to try to gauge load volumes on commercial flights between the two major Chinese hubs, which I find, one, is hilarious. Two, it makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of distrust with the data that comes out of China. They often and have been known to flub some of the data. So I just think it's hilarious. This dude is spending 3 or 4 hours a day flying back and forth from Shanghai to Beijing. But so that got us thinking about alternative data and why we should talk about it, because it's become such a big part of a lot of, especially investment firms and financial analysts, has become a big part of their about what they do. So, Kevin, you want to give just a brief overview? What would you consider alternative data? What's your definition of it?
Yeah, and the hedge fund land asset managers really were the innovators of this, right? The early innovators and early majority. And, just I was telling Michael Vincent, alternative music goes mainstream, and all of a sudden it becomes mainstream. So it's this evolution of alternative data, and you have like big data, mega data, or metadata that is now, available to more and more people, and so you're looking at traffic patterns. You're looking at all kinds of satellite images, down to in trucking, certainly ELD information, and you can make real-time predictions. Electronic tenders and sonar, in a lot of ways, is that the alternative data that gives you real-time or near real-time information. So that's one category. The other category is like the Jefferies analyst, is the old gumshoe type of beating the street alternative data, and it's something that when I lived in New York, I worked for a couple firms, Merger Market being one, where we had journalists who covered mergers and acquisition type of possibilities, and it was really market knowledge. And then another one was an investment research firm created and founded by former business journalists who did investigative reports on different industries, different companies, board of directors, and we do really in-depth studies and interviews that we transcribed and gave to hedge funds, so they could have, a lot of times we were calling mattress companies and seeing what the salespeople thought the volume of sales,
how they were doing,
and the quality and the customer reaction of new products in those mattress stores, which is crazy, but that is alternative data.
I think the first example of alternative data that I ever heard of was, I think it came from you. It was either you or Seth. You told me about how an investment firm would study private flight patterns and private flight logs to see where, if you saw one coming out of Omaha, you knew that you might know that Warren Buffett was on the move and looking for an M&A deal or something. And I mean, that's just crazy to me that's what people track, and that's become prominent now. But so many people do it that it's almost not really worth looking at anymore. You're not really getting an edge on it, but that's just it's crazy to me.
Yeah, and so you're looking at different edges. So different alternative data type of sets keep popping into existence because everyone's looking for that competitive advantage. And in the financial world, where information asymmetry is the key to making alpha, a lot of financial terms there, right?
Yeah.
Making above market returns, and all the money pouring into to hedge funds and private asset managers, you're going to find this game of cat and mouse and trying to find competitive advantages everywhere. And it goes back to like if you've ever seen Wall Street, Charlie Sheen is following the guy around, which is kind of the same concept of looking at private flight logs to see where executives are going if they're meeting with other companies. It's the same thing, and you're just always looking for an edge, which I don't think there's anything illegal about following someone around. Other things in that movie were quite illegal, but I don't think that kind of alternative data is one of those.
Well, let's shift a little bit here. We were talking about how financial companies try to get an edge. Let's talk about how Walmart is trying to get an edge, and Shopify as well. We've seen this partnership that was announced yesterday between Shopify and Walmart, and I will fully disclose here that I love this deal. I think it's great for both companies. Here's a little background for you if you don't know about the deal. So anybody on Shopify, any of their sellers that are interested, all they need to do is simply download the Walmart plugin on their Shopify website. It's very simple, and that allows them to have access to sell on the Walmart marketplace. And then basically, according to Shopify's website, sellers can introduce their brands to millions of new shoppers on Walmart's curated marketplace with no additional fees, no subscription fees, no upkeep at all. So for me, this is a win-win. There's a couple takeaways I have here that we can to get the ball rolling. Is first that Walmart gets access to Shopify's seller base, and they get access to the best of Shopify's seller base. So they're going to prioritize people that have great customer service and great customer satisfaction, but also try to bring in brands that kind of complement what they already have. We were just trying to talk about and think about things where Shopify brands would do really well, and it's not like household goods. Think whatever brand or whatever good you want that a brand specifically comes to mind. Like nobody's going to be buying chapstick or Kleenexes from Shopify users, but it's things like outdoor hiking gear and things that really complement them. That does really well, isn't it?
Yeah, apparel, lifestyle brands, right? Those niche lifestyle brands that have great marketing. They have a great following because they have great marketing, and it's something that is either complementary to Walmart's offerings, or it gives them a leg into areas,
to a new market.
Kind of like premium brands that doesn't make sense for them to go out and hold and purchase and keep in stores, right?
Yeah, I think you make a good point on the brands. I mean, the brands that are on Shopify are synonymous with kind of digitally native, the young, focused, the cool brands. And I think that's something that Walmart has consistently tried to be, but they've never been able to be. They've done this by buying brands like Jet.com and Bonobos. And I mean, like they've bought 15 or 20 brands over the last 15 years to try to get themselves into this e-commerce play, but none of them have really worked out all that well. So that's why I think this one, you said earlier that you thought this was even better than buying Shopify.
I think it is too. So, I think it was right before the shutdowns of the economy, or maybe right at it. We had an episode where we were talking about Scott Galloway's article, should FedEx buy Shopify, or should Shopify buy FedEx, actually?
Yeah. And
we started talking about a partnership with Walmart and Shopify, or whether Walmart should buy Shopify for this exact reason. So to be able to partner with them, I imagine they take some kind of fee.
They haven't disclosed
so they haven't
any fee
disclosed
structure
it, but,
yet.
That makes much more sense than trying to own Shopify, that technology, that business model, and trying to fit it into the Walmart business model. You're just taking the best of Shopify and putting it on your website, which is Walmart.com, which increases traffic for those independent sellers that subscribe to Shopify. So it's almost like replicating the business model of third-party sellers from Amazon. Hopefully they don't make the same mistakes or go down the same path that Amazon and their third-party sellers are now going down right now.
Yeah, which is another point that I was going to get to, that it's not only, we'll talk about this article that came out last year, was Amazon past its prime, and it was kind of that customers are beginning to have been for the last 2 years, really, that have kind of been getting begrudged and are not exactly happy with what they're getting from Amazon anymore, whereas in 2015, when it was kind of the only major player, nobody else really had anything to compete with Amazon, everybody was extremely satisfied with what they had, and we'll get into some of those numbers in a little bit. But some of the other takeaways here is that Walmart gets a lot of new products at a major discount, just like we were talking about. The Jet.com is extremely expensive. They spent over $1 billion and then shut it down just 2 weeks before they announced this partnership. And then I think the biggest selling point here for me on this deal is that it now makes Walmart's offerings even more integrated than it was before. The only problem with Amazon really is that you don't have any centralized location to go pick up things immediately, so you can't do the click it and ship it or click and pick it type of things. There's no curbside delivery. There's no centralized place to take returns back, which we were talking about earlier. Returns can get up to nearly 40% of all online orders.
It's a really crazy staggering figure.
But I mean, some people, you got to think, some people literally will buy, when they go to buy shoes, they'll buy 2 or 3 different sizes and then just send back the other 2 and they don't even think about it. I don't do that, but some people do. But this gives Walmart a perfect opportunity to bring in more goods, and it also gives Shopify an opportunity to have a centralized point of return. So I just think it's a win-win for both people. So the real discussion here that I wanted to get into is, how sharp is this challenge from Walmart and Shopify towards Amazon's overall plan?
I think it's significant because you take the top, say, 5%, or even maybe it's the top 1%. I don't know the exact cutoff point of that, but I'm sure those Shopify sellers account for the bulk of the transactions.
Yeah,
right?
there's over 1 million. So you think about it this way: there's over 1 million sellers on Shopify, and Walmart only plans to get 1,200 of them in the first year. So you can kind of just do a little back of the envelope math on that. There's only going to be a few.
There's major companies doing millions upon $50, $100 million running off a Shopify site because it's so easy to do, and sometimes it complements their brick and mortar. Sometimes it's exclusively online. But the great thing about there's a good difference between Amazon third-party sellers. A lot of them just use Amazon for the SEO. They don't really have a web presence on their own. Shopify traditionally, up until this point especially, those top sellers, they're in control of their brand.
Yeah.
They're in control of their marketing. They just have that platform, and they've had to do their own SEO, their own reach out, their own building of sometimes a cult following to those brands. So I think those third-party sellers are much more valuable than a lot of the third-party sellers that you'll find on Amazon.
I would agree completely. I mean, again, they have solidified brands, whereas those people, you're buying things from Walmart. I mean, you're buying things from Amazon. You're just looking for the cheapest price. I mean, for the most part, you might look at some reviews every once in a while, but it's all based on price. You have no brand loyalty at all, where that's not the case at all with Shopify. But as I was speaking to earlier, that Amazon past its prime article, this was a Forbes report that came out last year, and they were basically talking about how Amazon was kind of losing its luster with consumers. And we spoke about this on the midday market update last week, as Kevin just mentioned. So here's a couple numbers for you. In 2015, 87% of respondents that use Amazon say they were very happy or extremely satisfied with Amazon as a company. Just 5 years later, in 2020, that number is down to 54%. I mean, that's a crazy 5-year jump. And I just think it comes from increased competition and the fact that, I mean, Amazon's website has kind of gotten hazy. Like, there's so many options. It's hard to sift through them. And then on top of that, whatever you want, Amazon just plugs their Amazon product at the top, the same thing that they're getting in trouble with doing. That's why people are getting pissed, the consumers and the sellers.
They are. So the EU is starting antitrust proceedings against Amazon for doing just that. They're taking their third-party sellers, that they see what works, what's selling, what's not. They go knock off the product. And then that third-party seller has to pay advertising fees to get ranked up to where Amazon's knockoff on those products are. And I will say that Amazon does a very good job at knocking off products.
Yeah, I mean
they're really good.
They're really good. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to buy batteries or I've gone to buy toilet paper or something, just a household good. And I've always ended up buying the Amazon because, okay, I'll save the $2. It's the same thing. I mean, they're commoditized products.
They are, and so they do a really good job of that. I think another trend that's interesting to me is that there's this push late last year into this year for one-day delivery over the last 12 months, and COVID-19 has kind of, it's obliterated that plan. Now Amazon Prime isn't 2 days or 1 day, it's like 5 or 6 days. I think they're finally starting to get on track again and shortening that time for especially non-essential items. But it goes back into the Walmart, the Walmart where you can click it and pick it, right? On just totally e-commerce, leaving out Shopify. And big box retailers like Walmart have been forced to go all in on this strategy. And I think it appeals to a lot of people, right? Because then you can control returns.
Yep.
You're just driving to the store. So Best Buy is an example. You can buy something on Best Buy and drive to the store that day, pick it up. If it's not working or whatever, you can, drive back to Best Buy, which is a little bit annoying, but it's certainly less annoying than having to go somewhere and package everything up and send it back and then wait on it to come back.
Yeah, I think the click it and pick it and the curbside delivery, and there are a couple other factors there, but that's one of the reasons. Here's another popping number from that Amazon past its prime, is that this is a big switch from 2018 to 2019, but in 2019, they actually tallied that a majority of consumers would rather shop at Walmart, which is, again, online, in-store, or both, as compared to Amazon just online, because that's all we have, which is crazy to me. It jumped from like 42% in 2018 to 54% in 2019. So people are really, I think they really like the optionality. They like having different options to get their goods.
I totally agree with that. I think it's consumer tastes are kind of evolving a little bit more.
So here's a question I got for you, and we'll just give our best opinion on this. And this is the build versus buy strategy, right? So Amazon is known for building everything, building their technologies. It kind of supports their tax minimization strategy, which they just continuously reinvest profits. But at some point, I have to think that rather than buying or partnering with already established, well-growing tech companies, you might eventually get kind of caught. Like you might get to a point at which there are other people that can do things better than you, and you might need to buy them or partner with them, and that's not Amazon's mojo. Do you think that we're getting to that point where Amazon might be running out of runway on innovation? Do you think people can keep up with them?
I think so. I think they are running out of that runway. It still could be pretty long right now. It's not a short runway as we sit here in mid 2020, but it's getting shorter by the day. But it's still probably a really long headwind. I think Walmart was in that position too when it was brick and mortar. It's kind of a case study of Amazon falling down Walmart's original path, where they dominated stores, and at a certain time, their growth, there was nowhere to grow at the rate that they had been by opening up new stores. So they went on the buying spree of e-commerce. That they realized that those models didn't fit into their original business model, so they're trying a partnership which limits risk on both sides, and it makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, I do think that other people are catching up with Amazon. I think I got a couple thoughts. One, Amazon has a cash printer. They got a money counter that goes brrr whenever they want it, and they can pull from Amazon Web Services whenever they want. So I think they're never going to run out of cash, which is a good thing. But I also think that I lost my train of thought. It's the IFB.
That's okay.
But we'll come back to it. I think it'd be good. I remember my thought. I think it'll be good for Amazon, because I think they have lulled into a little bit of that sleep where they haven't really updated their website that much. At least I shop on it often, and I haven't noticed a difference. I think this will be good. They need some pressure. I think this will put a little pressure on their back to do better. Who do you think wins in this, by the way? Walmart or Shopify? Who do you think comes out of this deal better?
I think I think Shopify does, just because there's more upside potential. But I think it's cliche to say win-win deal for both of them, but it should be a win-win. Yeah. And I don't think Walmart's going to start copying those brands, because there's no way. Either there's such brand loyalty and kind of cult status. A lot of sellers on Shopify that you can't really copy that.
Yeah, no,
you can copy commodities, but you can't really copy that marketing message and that sentiment and attitude that they use to sell their products on Shopify. So I think the upside potential, Shopify has a much higher, because it's younger. It's a younger company with more room to grow. But I think Walmart needs it as an essential piece to take on Amazon in the future.
Yeah, I echo all that. But I think I agree with you. I think Shopify wins solely on the return basis. I think Walmart's going to allow any returns from any Shopify website to go into a Walmart return. So that's huge for them.
It's huge. Yes.
So that cannot be overstated at all. But okay. Let's go to our long shorts. We'll go to another brand that is edgy and has extremely high brand loyalty. We spoke about it. We speak about it all the time. Okay, if you get sick of listening to us talk about Tesla, tell me, and we'll talk about something else. But I absolutely love Tesla. I'm very long them. Me and Seth were talking today about just the future profitability and future value of Tesla. I think I already know your answer to this, Kevin. But Seth and I are of the belief that Tesla will be the most valuable company in the world in 2030. Are you long or short Tesla being the most valuable company in the world in 2030?
You know, I was driving around this weekend here in Chattanooga, and I saw a Tesla, and it's like, you know what? Those are great cars. I think I might buy one of these days.
Yep.
Not anytime soon, but maybe when my 20-year-old Mercedes falls apart, I might buy a Tesla. But I don't think it's going to be the most expensive or the most valuable company in 2030. Okay. I think it's a car company that you know, is a software company as well. I think there's just too many distractions for that, and I think their success will bring on competitors. I think Nikola is going to be a strong competitor to it. So, short.
Okay. I'll touch on that last point. I don't think Nikola will ever be a massive competitor to Tesla to begin with. I don't think they're really aiming to go into consumer cars. They've got their truck, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm very long this idea. I definitely think they will be the most valuable the company in the world. The reason that we're having this right now is just yesterday they became the most valuable car company in the world. They overtook Toyota. They're now worth $180 billion or something. So they're the most valuable car company in the world. The reasons I think they're going to be the most valuable company in the world is if robo-taxis play out well. They've already got nearly 1 million Teslas on the road now. If they're able to monetize those Teslas as a robo-taxi, it's very simple. It's just like the Uber app, but you get on the Tesla app, get an autonomous Tesla to pick you up. You basically get to buy a car and make it profitable immediately. I mean, that is a huge pull towards Tesla. I think they're going to sell. I think they're going to be the most dominant car company in the biggest market, which is China and in Asia. So yeah, I'm very long that idea. Here's another one for you.
I might change if I ever see a robo-taxi.
So my basis is pretty much solely that, I mean, the reason that they're so far ahead on everybody else on autonomous driving, they've got billions of miles of autonomous, all of those models are all based on, you need data, you need road data, and they've got like 10 or 20x road data on anybody else. So they're so much further ahead than Waymo and then Uber and Lyft and everyone else on autonomous driving.
Which is alternative data.
Yeah, it sure is. All right, we'll do the last one real quick. Yeah. So can Apple become the world's leading glasses producer? So they came out with the Apple Watch in 2015. By 2018, they were already the highest selling watch producer in the world. Do you think they can do the same thing with glasses?
I do. I'll go along. Even though I don't really like the idea of seeing text messages, talking to people who see text messages
they're not going to be talking
in front of me, it's kind of weird because you talk to people now. 10 years ago, you talk to people and everyone's looking at their phone, right, which is just normal now. And now they're checking their watch the entire time. So they're just going to. So I don't like the idea of it, but yeah, I think they can. I'll go long.
Yeah, I'm long as well. When it comes to accessories, they're also the largest earpod seller. So I think whatever Apple wants to slap their brand on as a wearable option, I think they'll probably become the dominant player there. Whenever they do end up releasing, there's kind of some rumors that it might be this year, it could be next year. I think whenever they do the next big release, that will become inevitable. So if you're Warby Parker or any of the other glass producers, I'd I'd be shivering.
I would too.
But there's that. So, hey, we want to thank Carrier Direct for their contributions today. You guys are always helping us out. Thank you, Diane, Peter, and Ryan over there at Carrier Direct. We got Put That Coffee Down tomorrow at 1. Do you know what you're talking about?
12 p.m.
At 12, excuse
Talking
me.
about sales video, narratives. Great guest.
Something you're very good at. Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Again, we're on a 6-day, 23.5-hour break. See you next time.